My name is Hazel Lloyd-Lubran and I'm Chief Officer at the Ceredigion Association of Voluntary Organisations. And we form part of a network of support organisations that cover the whole of Wales, that offer advice and assistance to the third sector, to community and voluntary groups across Wales. So there are 19 of us as county voluntary councils across Wales, and we work very, very closely with the Wales Council for Voluntary Action as part of Third Sector Support Wales. So I'll include the website details for Third Sector Support Wales in the chat, so that everybody, all the information and access to different resources and contact details, importantly, are in that link. And if you're not already aware of your local county voluntary council, then please reach out and find them, follow them on social media, contact them to see how you can receive updates and information. We all work together very, very closely across the whole of Wales, and we all work around 4 pillars of activity. Our programme of work and our programme of support breaks down around 4 pillars. One is around good governance. So we support third sector organisations with all kinds of governance queries, from setting up projects, setting up as an organisation, to managing staff and volunteers and developing policies. We've also developed the Knowledge Hub, which is an online site with all kinds of resources and information and opportunities for people to network and learn and support each other. So always a good place to start your search if you're looking for information. So good governance is the first pillar. Second pillar is volunteering. It is increasingly important that we value the people that we have in our communities that are willing to stand up and give their time for nothing to make a difference to their communities and to other people. A big focus of our work is around supporting, recognising and retaining volunteers in Wales. Now, recruitment is often challenging, so we support organisations, volunteer involving organisations, with the recruitment of the right volunteers. But we also try and match up people who want to volunteer with appropriate opportunities for them in their local area. So a big part of the work that we're doing across Wales at the moment is looking at how we make it easier for people to give their time, and how we explore maybe some more informal opportunities for people to volunteer and make a difference. In Ceredigion, we're doing some work at the moment to look at participatory resourcing and how communities can work with town and community councils to make a difference in their community, particularly if that difference means that costs don't have to increase, particularly in communities. You're in a very, very difficult position as town and community councils across Wales, where with the cost of living crisis, the last thing you want to do is raise your precepts, is raise your element of council tax. But as everything increases, as your responsibilities increase as well, you're in a very difficult position not to do that. So even more reason to work with communities and work with people locally to try and come up with no-cost solutions to some of the challenges that you're facing and some of the challenges that you're needing to address as town and community councils in your local areas. So that need to work with people to give their time is increasingly important in that space. And we're quite keen in Ceredigion to look at opportunities to do that and to share some of that learning with others. Funding. And before I move on from our second pillar, volunteering, we have developed a volunteering website called Volunteering Wales, where people share details of their opportunities, and individuals who are interested in volunteering can find a little bit more about the opportunities that are available. Third pillar of activity is funding, and we have developed another online resource called Funding Wales, which lists many grants and funding sources available across Wales, which we update regularly. So we support community groups and community and voluntary groups to access funding opportunities, but we also promote grants and arrange volunteering fairs, meet the funder events and opportunities for community and voluntary groups to contact and question funders directly, and to understand what's available for them and what the most appropriate funding opportunities might be for their organisations and for their projects. Some of us as county voluntary councils, many of us actually as county voluntary councils across Wales and WCVA, we also manage our own grant schemes. Tend to be small grant schemes, tend to be time limited, but any investment in the sector is positive. Some of which might be open to town and community councils, particularly if you're working collaboratively with other community and voluntary groups in your areas, and particularly if the activities are non-statutory activities. So that varies depending on the grant and depending on the idea and the project that you want funded, but it's always worth having a conversation. And I think in terms of funding, there might be more opportunities for us to be working with you as town and community councils to look at that match funding element that we could be exploring with any resources that you have access to as well. So that might be an area that we need to be working on a little more in future. Just a few examples of the ways county voluntary councils have worked with town and community councils in the past. We know we have several town and community council that manage warm spaces in their local areas. Community transport has been an area that town and community councils have funded and supported and managed in the past. And we're noticing an increasing positive trend in Ceredigion in town and community councils actually arranging information events, well-being events, advice events for their wider community. And in Cavo in Ceredigion, we're keen to support and fund some of that moving forward. We have many partners that arrange these sessions in local communities, but don't get the people to attend. And I think it's really important that those initiatives are developed from local communities by the people in those communities that understand what communities want. So very, very keen to support that. And I think, Angela, in your introduction, you mentioned food. And I know that many of us as county voluntary councils support local authorities and other partners in distributing food grants for revenue and capital projects, and some town and community councils have been involved in some of those activities as well. So last but not least, fourth pillar is engagement and influence, and again a great deal of our work revolves around supporting and representing the third sector, representing community and voluntary groups in our counties, across regions and across Wales. And I think One Voice Wales are partners on most public services boards, I think, across Wales. We need to make sure that we are using those spaces to build partnerships and build those opportunities to collaborate with others, to support people that need help with cost of living increases. So we need to make the most of those spaces, the public services boards on a county level and the regional partnership boards on the health board footprint that have a focus on transforming and redeveloping health and social care services. So opportunities there for us to work together, to work with other partners to make a difference in our communities. And I think, again, as we move forward, we need to be more conscious of where we're investing the money and the resources and the time that we do have. It's a particular concern to us in Ceredigion that some of our community centres, our village halls, the beating hub of our communities are finding it increasingly difficult, to get trustees to manage those resources, but to get the funding to keep those doors open. With the increasing cost of electricity and heating and maintaining those buildings, it's becoming quite a burden. If we don't keep those doors open, then the very activities that we need to be supporting in our communities to help people with the cost of living crisis disappears. So we do need to be working together to make sure that we safeguard some of our vital resources in our communities. So lots of work, lots of potential to work together in the future, I hope. Diolch yn fawr iawn. It's that opportunity to network. So if you don't know who the providers might be, who the key players might be in your community, then contact your county voluntary council. We can point you in the right direction. And it is about working with others. If you can't directly draw that money down as a town or community council, then work with others that can. So yeah, it is about making the most of the time that's available and the grants that are available, because there is increasing competition for a great many of our main grants. Talking to some of our main grant providers like the lottery, like Comic Relief, Children in Need and others, they are getting far more applications in than they can fund. So we do need to be working together to make sure that we are targeting and supporting the right people.